Hello YouTubers, Charles here, playing some more Minecraft, and I've got a few neat things to show you today. Right now we're standing in the spawn shelter here on the multiplayer server I play on. It's back to normal view here. So you see we have lots of roads, not only here, but they extend over a lot of the server. We got one or two people who've been making them. As you can see, they've got a lot of stone brick here, which obviously requires smooth stone. I mean, the road this way goes like 700 blocks into the swamp where my little cave house is, and then I think it continues maybe another 1,000 blocks. You got a few people with little bases that way. I know, stairs come down this way, but you can see a path goes off that way for, I know, at least a few hundred blocks, if not 1,000. I know it goes that way at least, again, maybe 1,000 blocks or more. I know it goes this way at least a few hundred. Well, maybe not down that way, but yeah, a little over this bridge. And that goes 500 blocks down that path there, not further. So we need a lot of smooth stone to be made. Chicken farm there. So I it was done manually a lot, but I decided to help some people out, and I built a super smelter. At least that's what I call it. Building in here. Well, kind of bad direction to get. Oh, come on, finish loading. There we go. So this is the super smelter. It's for smelting lots of items. And basically, you put your fuel in here, wait a short bit, and press this button. Well, there's a on-off switch on this side right here. Master on-off switch. But you turn it on, put your fuel in. Right now this is saying there's no extra fuel here. Basically this light indicates if there's anything in the chest or not. So you put the fuel in, you wait a few seconds, you press the button, it loads a minecart. Put your ore in here, wait a few seconds. You would ideally enough for a whole stack at least to filter into the minecart here. We got actually a setup. You can see there's one hopper goes straight down, and then one hopper feeds from the side, so it actually loads 2 items per 0.4 seconds. So it really loads like 5 items per second into the hopper, which is to the minecart, chest minecart, which is twice the normal rate of just a single hopper. So then you press this button and the machine goes to work. Basically, pressing that button will launch that cart out, and after a few seconds this cart here will filter in to be loaded while that cart is out. And what that cart does is fills all these furnaces. Well, it does fill the hoppers, I guess, but the hoppers fill the furnaces. There's 16 furnaces on this side and 16 on the other for a total of 32 furnaces. Here's all the others. So the furnaces are automatically loaded with both fuel and ore, or stone, or whatever you're using. And then there's these 2 hopper carts that will automatically collect everything, and when the hopper carts get maybe halfway full, they're automatically routed back here and emptied into these 2 chests. You see, looks like people have already used this somewhat. Actually, I never really actually got to test this, although I did build a version of this in a test world. I never actually tested the one here, so why don't we do that now? So I'm going to turn this on, and this starts the collection carts going around. You can see the machine is actually in a state. Normally they'll loop multiple times around, but if there's no ore here, which means the machine is basically done, it routes the carts back to the drop-off point. And they're not stopping there because they don't have anything to drop off. I should explain about this. We got a little detector here that right now is being bypassed by... you see this signal here is off, which basically forces this to turn. But when I start loading ore on, this signal will be powered, which will turn this torch off, and then this will be controlled just by the detector. So the mine carts will loop around several times until they're mostly full. And once the detector detects their, it's a comparator next to a detector rail, detects that they're mostly full. I think I have it somewhere between a half and 2/3 full. Then they'll be directed towards the drop-off station. Before they get to the drop-off station, I have a little flip-flop here. So, that does happen occasionally, and I have a fix for that. There we go. Where it directs the carts to separate unload zones. Basically, every other cart is put to a different unload zone. In the case of problems, I do have a little fix here. Basically, the carts drop. So if the cart comes backwards, it just hits the wall and reverses. So that's kind of the fix for that. Yeah, so this is basically just a T flip-flop that activates off of this detector rail and converts or flips this every other time. It works on a falling edge detector, basically, so it flips after the cart has passed. So it's ready for the next cart. The way these little detector things work here, or unloading zones, I'll drop in here. This is just part of the on-off system. But basically, when the cart gets up here, it immediately starts putting stuff in the hopper. The hopper shows us having a signal from this comparator, powers this block. On this side, basically there's two sides here. The comparator is right behind this block here, so it powers this block. That will turn off the torch. The torch powers that block. This is a repeater, so the repeater is powering that block, which powers the rail. So as soon as 2 ticks after the cart puts something in there, the rail powers off, and the cart will stay there until it's completely empty. Once it's completely empty, no more items are in the hopper, so the comparator stops outputting, so this torch turns back on. Repeater powers the block, which powers the the powered rail, booster rail, and the carts continue around again. So that's how the carts are getting too close. That happens occasionally. Let me just... that should separate them again. Ore. Or fuel, I should say. Fuel gets put in this chest. Again, like I said, there's the 2 hoppers here. One feeds from the top, one feeds from the side. And when you press the button, it powers this rail. Otherwise, we just got a timer here. It runs maybe every 30 or 40 seconds. So you see when this timer bounces back, this torch will turn on momentarily and it'll push this cart off. In just a second. Alright, 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. So the cart comes up here. And basically, kind of similar system, but not exactly. This waits until the cart is empty and then routes it back. If the cart still has coal or whatever fuel you're using, you can use blaze rods or whatever. It'll be directed around again. Basically, because fuel lasts for multiple smelts, this like coal will last for 8 smelts. The fuel doesn't have to go as often as you want the ore. You want the ore constantly. Like I said, I did a test world where I actually had a 64 furnace one, and the ore providing cart could just barely missed getting around in the time. There was basically some waste, so you could only get 7 smelts out of each furnace if you were using coal. Here, this should be the... So he just comes around, goes over all these hoppers which are connected to the back of the furnaces, and they provide fuel. Again, like I said, if there was leftover ore, it would just come up here, that would get detected and be circled around again to fill again. The ore hopper, or ore car I should say, starts down here. The button you press to go powers this block, which powers this redstone, which powers this repeater, which powers the powered rail that it's on. A lot of powering. Anyway, this cart will come up here, and as it passes here, basically it'll pass here, and then come up here and go. I guess I accidentally activated it. So it'll go around, and again, we got a little detector here. It's going to be problematic. There we go. Come on. So, when the car comes back in, it triggers this detector, which powers here, which ejects the waiting car. And then as the waiting car leaves, it powers this detector, which will power this one, which will send it back down to get loaded. So, basically, one is always being loaded, while the other is filling the furnaces. So let's try this out here. You see how it ticks down by 2? That's the double loader working. And basically, I'm just going to wait till all the fuel is gone. Alright, you see the light came back on. Press that to make sure the fuel goes. We took all this stuff, that's great. First let's go with 4 stacks here. Alright, and as 1 stack is kind of full, press the button. So that one left, this one is now being filled. And you see all the furnaces are running. And you see that the full one is going around. And then once it's empty, it will head back. And the other one will be sent out. You can see how these are being filled up. Then as we got stone coming out, carts will come by and suck it up. And then eventually, as these carts... Yeah. Oh, how did he get some fuel? That's a little strange. Here we got some stone. I guess there was stuff stuck in one of the furnaces here. Yeah, one of the furnaces might have had some items and no fuel. I didn't check the furnaces before we started this. Yeah, alright, all the furnaces are going. That was one thing I was kind of afraid of. Is, at least on my test world, I had 1 or 2 torches kind of in a place to power the rails up here, but they also kind of caused a problem for some of the furnaces some of the hoppers were basically powered and so weren't getting fed items. But I made sure to avoid that. Actually, it wasn't really torches as much as I had a kind of a detector rail on one of the hoppers, and that caused a problem every time the cart went by. Nope, that's not what I got in the way. Don't get in the way. Anyhow, that's, you can see we already got a bunch of items. This is all empty. And yeah, we're just waiting for the last few items to unload. Wonder if he put some more stuff in. Anyway, we got 4 stacks already, and then some, because I'm sure maybe one of these carts had some items in it. But it runs pretty efficiently. The last few items here, you see now that the ore chest is empty. These are now coming back right away after one pass because there shouldn't be any more stuff coming back. So we want to unload as quickly as possible. And we don't want to be basically, those were, let's say, just had 10 items in it, or not even a stack. This would not send them back, and they'd just be circling constantly with just that stack. And so that's why I have the little detector on the fullness of that chest. Actually, it's on one of the hoppers, but once it reaches empty, it automatically directs this to unload these. And so now that we're done, we can just basically flip the off switch here, and you can see the fuel hopper, or fuel minecart, I should say. Chest minecart gets stopped on the slope there. This one gets stopped, and we kind of turn off the power here, so this gets stopped. And then when you turn it back on, this will just roll down and stop, not go anywhere. Because basically, it only rolled up here because this one parked, which sent the signal to launch that, but the ramp here is turned off. Yeah, so both this will roll back, and that will roll back, and you're all ready once you turn it back on. And of course, these are stopped because I basically unpower these torches. That one there, and then there's one behind this block here. That gets unpowered by that. Obviously, the switch is directly on this one, and then this signal just runs down, and again, turns off this or unpowers that, and unpowers this, so this ramp is unpowered. So this is my super smelter. I have one other thing I want to show you, and we now have colored glass, and colored stained clay was added in the last major 1.6 release, and as always, colored wool is popular. So obviously you need dyes if you want to do lots of colored stuff, and I know definitely people want to do it. So I built a flower farm, or flower factory as I called it, and it's right over here. Well, actually I've built two now. Just finished the second one yesterday. This I built a few days ago. This is my first attempt, my flower factory and dyery, as in place where you do dyeing. You have a cauldron here so you can wash, if you have leather armor, you can wash it off. The color, I got a chest for bone meal, which I will use right now. Chest for bones from the... Ooh, that's nice and full. Someone's been using this. That's great to hear, or to see. Yeah, from the skeleton spawner I showed last, well, not last time, but it's 32 there, 32 there, 32 there, and 32 here. So I'll quickly show you how this works, and then I'll show you my second version. So this is basically, there's a 9x9 dirt area. We'll have grass. It has grass on it. And this is a dispenser that's facing directly up into the bottom of the dirt. It's only one thick layer of dirt, so it's filled with bone meal. Got a little timer here. It is pretty short. Well, it's 12 blocks, which is, I don't know how long that is, but it's pretty short. And basically, you just got a mechanism to turn it off. And when you turn it on, every time it switches sides, either to one side or the other, there's a little torch that oh, okay. Let's try over here. Basically, in each corner up top is a dispenser filled with a bucket with water. So when it goes to the one side, it turns the water on, and when it goes to the other side, it turns the water off. Actually, that should be the water off side, and this should be the water on side, this torch right here. Just as it's turning the water on, it triggers the dispenser. So the dispenser dispenses bone meal, which causes grass and flowers to grow. And then immediately the water turns on, and the water knocks the grass and flowers off. And the water, because it's in the corners, it flows towards the center where we have these hoppers. And they collect flowers. I also have this cart here. And I'll basically show you what it's for in a second. But let's turn this on, and then I'll go around. So here we are up on the roof. Here's the water. So there's the hopper. Grass and flowers grow. Then they get knocked off and collected. I also have a, let's see, there's a white tulip, red tulip, orange tulips, and I think that's about it for what grows here. And I'll talk about that briefly later. But we got some 2-high flowers. Now the 2-high flowers are special. Just hitting them when they're alive with bone meal causes a copy to pop off. But then you have to collect them. So I don't actually hear it running. It should be running. Basically, I have this track. Yeah, there we go. And so the hopper cart runs right under the dirt here. Oh yeah, it is collecting. Okay. And so it attempts to pick up some of the flowers. Yeah, got a sunflower. So basically, some of the 2-high flowers will pop into the water, and that's great, and they'll get collected. But some kind of sit there, and the point of the minecart is to attempt to collect them. Like, it did just collect that, but it doesn't get all of them. So basically you have to manually collect some of them. But like that type of flower, that won't grow up there. It turns out, let's turn this off. We don't have the azure bluettes. We don't have the poppies. We don't have that fancy flower out there. We don't have these white flowers. We don't have the oxeye daisies. It turns out that if you have some bone meal, and you keep... what did I do? I meant to do that. You keep bone mealing the same area, and then breaking the grass, and bone meal it again. Like, even if you break these flowers, the same types of flowers keep growing back. It basically, not exactly when the world generates. Well, when the world generates, you'll get flowers. But the ones that grow when you bone meal it may be slightly different, but basically they'll still be the same flower in the same general area. It's just when it spawns. I'm not really sure the algorithm, but they may be placed off by 1 or 2 blocks. So you may get a flower in a slightly different spot. Basically, to me, it seems like there's always the same pattern. You'll always get these the poppies. They'll be surrounded by these flowers. The next will be these flowers. Then it'll be tulips. And the tulips actually always will go red, orange, white, pink, I believe. And then finally, see, like here's white and pink. And then somewhere beyond the white and pink, turned white, pink, then white, orange, red again. Maybe. Yeah, see, there's a red one. But past the pink ones are where you get the oxeye daisies. But it doesn't always go that far. And they're not in a straight line. They're all sort of swirly patterns. So I didn't know that when I first built this farm. But I later looked at some videos and read some forum stuff and found that out. We'll just collect these and put them in a chest down there. So I looked at the map. We have a world render. And I kind of searched for a place that had as many of the flowers in as close a space as I can find. And actually it was really hard. I found 2 places that were pretty good, but none that was like really, really good. And actually wound up not using the map directly. Let's see. There's some red poppies and some red tulips. They really shouldn't be this close. There should be the other flowers in between. Yeah, see, there's what are those called again? Biomes. And then there should be the see if I break this, I bet they won't come back. Yeah. See, we got one of those. Those are what come next. The azure bluettes. Just stick that back here. And then here's oxeye daisy. So, you can see here, it is pretty good. Let's see if the oxeye daisies actually grow. Well, it may actually grow there, because that's a white tulip. There really should be a pink tulip, I think, before. there's the pinks. So yeah, and you see they can be placed slightly out of correct position originally when the world spawns, but just takes they're not usually that far out of position. So there's something with how they spawn that kind of does some random placement, I guess. Yeah, so I found a place where within a distance of about 28 straight in a row, 27 or 28, I had all of them, and it was straight in a row. It wasn't a curve or diagonal. And it's kind of far away because it's not in that. That's a small little flower forest area. There's another one we found, but it's no, I did want to go this way. It's a good distance away, so that's why I'm taking the nether. And of course, with flowers, at least the flower forest, you can't grow the blue orchids in the flower forest that give you light blue dye. And obviously you also can't get green dye, that only comes from cactuses. And you can't get dark blue dye, because that only comes from lapis blocks. So here we are in the flower forest. You can't get brown dye either, because that only comes from cocoa beans. This way. Need to orient myself. So this is a huge flower forest here, you can see. And you also really can't get yellow dye. The dandelions don't grow in the flower forest. They'll grow in other places. But that really isn't a problem because you can get sunflowers, which is one of the 2 high plants, and they provide yellow. That's why it's moving fast. So here we are in a little... Yeah, we're on the extreme biomes. Or, not extreme. Starts with an A, and I can't think of it right now. But, yeah. Crazy, crazy mountain here. But this is my second flower forest, or flower factory. As you can see, I also have a nice cactus factory for getting green dye. And let's turn this on. It should be, you know what, it is empty. I was running it earlier as a test. And just passed by something. Oh, we got a nice amount here. 27 is fine. And I'll turn it on. And so this is the same thing, except I only have 2 dispensers instead of 4, and it kind of runs down. And so we'll get the poppies right at the top, and then coming down, we'll get all flowers down to the oxeye daisies. And then the water turns off. And a few seconds later, this is a little slower because the water's got to travel further. And, well, no red poppies that time, but we should get some red poppies up here. You can see they're on the ground down here. Same thing, you can build dirt over what you see, and it will have the same. There we go. Some red poppies, alliums. There was some orange. Tulips, you'll have red tulips all up here. Then you get white and pink. You can see there's an azure bluette that was pushed down from up here. And finally, I think this whole area down here is all oxeye daisies. Yeah, there's some pink. And then, of course, we have the similar, all 4, 2 high flowers. And you can just come back here and Now, give each of these some bone meal. And again, see, I have the minecart here, and this runs under them. It's much shorter distance than the way I had the other one set up. It still doesn't get everything. But you get a lot of grass, and grass gives you seeds. And it's not that I don't want the seeds, but I want the flowers more. So what I did is after we collect the flowers, we got a little filter here for seeds. So all the seeds get put into this chest here, where the flowers, well, enter this chest briefly, and then go into this chest, and you see we have cactus, and a whole bunch of flowers. And you can see we don't get as many poppies, or, well, poppies are basically what we get the least of. We get the most of oxeye daisies, because I think this whole bottom area is basically oxized daisies, but we don't get them at the other. The poppies aren't really necessary if you want dyes, because rose bushes will give you the same, or even the red tulips, but if you want to plant them, that's kind of why I have them. I have, so this is the chest where the seeds go to, and I even have it set up so this chest fills, this dispenser will start to fill, and the dispenser is set up so that it automatically starts ejecting everything. So it's a little overflow protection, so it won't fill up this filter, and it won't screw up the sorter, basically. So this will get you all the flowers. It'll get you green cactuses for green dye. I also have over here a basically an automatic cocoa bean farm. And good, we have bone meal in here, and basically, it turns out cocoa beans only need 2 bits of bone meal to fully ripen. So we got a piece of jungle wood here on a piston, and basically this will fire the dispensers here rapidly, and then every 2 or 3 fires, I'm not exactly sure how I had it set up, basically the wood will move, and then that will automatically harvest. So you just basically turn this on, you see how it's going. This does not use up any bone meal. But you wait for the wood to come down, and you plant. You see that grows, and then automatically harvests, and you just stand here and you'll collect. And it works pretty well. A minute or 2, you can get a whole stack. And you just shut it off when you're done. And I mean, I saw some people's designs. I kind of came up with my own. But basically, putting the power on here. Oh, that was all these firing back there. I have a comparator here. Set to subtraction mode. So basically, when you flip the switch down, you're actually powering this block, which causes the comparator. There's a loop here, basically. So every 2 ticks, the comparator will turn on and then off. So that will, through these repeaters here, makes these fire every 2 ticks. Meanwhile, I've got these 4 hoppers here in a circle, and there's one item, and yeah, behind that block, is another comparator. So when the item, let's see, Yeah, the item is in this hopper right now. You can see the one piece of dirt. So when the dirt moves around to here, it turns on the comparator, which powers the piston that moves the jungle wood out of the way and will break the cocoa bean. So basically this will go around and powers that piston. So they're sort of independent, except, alright, when you have this off, then this torch comes on, because when you turn this switch on, it turns this torch off. This torch basically locks everything in place, everything gets powered, so the block doesn't move and these dispensers don't run anymore. So that's kind of how this works. I'll just flip this on, and you see this blinks because the comparator is in subtraction mode, and it basically gets 15 one tick after it turned on, so it turns on and off. I don't really think the blinking affects the block movement too much. I mean, it may pause the block every once in a while, but this is a good speed for a server, I think. Any faster and it would get hard to place if there was a bit of lag. So yeah, that's how this machine works. I just have this block back there, so it kind of looks good. You just see stone when the piece of wood moves. So yeah, this is basically my dye farm number 2 and how it works. I know there are ways to make squid farms to get black ink or ink sacs to make, well, to dye things black. You use them for books as well, or written books. So I may attempt to build that as well. But these are basically the machines I've been working on since, well, not the previous video, which was the killing the dragon, but you know, it's from my first 172 video. I do want to work on an iron farm. Haven't really gotten to work on that yet, but hopefully next few days I'll be able to continue on that. Let's flip this off here. Little safety thing, if you flip it off while the water's running, it actually doesn't turn it off until this block moves over, and so the water's turned off, so the water doesn't kill all the grass. Yeah, so yeah, that's my super smelter and my flower farms. Hope you enjoyed these videos, and I'll catch you guys next time. Thanks for watching.